Shalom. My name is Ruth, and I heard that you are celebrating your 50th church anniversary. So when I heard that, I got so excited and I decided to step out of the pages of scripture and come and celebrate your anniversary with you. Oh my, oh my. And then someone whispered in my ear and they told me what your theme was. Your theme is learning from the past, redeeming the present, and embracing the future. Well, when I heard that, oh my goodness, I got super excited because that theme expresses something that I am very familiar with. That's right. Because you see, I too had to learn from my past. I am originally from Moab. Yes, right here in Moab. And I was an idol worshiper. I worshiped the god Chemosh. As a matter of fact, if you look just right over my shoulder and you see that circular tall building, that's the temple of the god Chemosh. And yes, I hate to admit it, but I worship that God. But I realized, I came to understand that he was a false God. And so I learned from Naomi, my mother in law, about Yahweh, the true and living God. And so, when I learned about Yahweh, well, I tell you, it didn't take me long to leave the false God and embrace the true and living God. So that when my husband died, Naomi's son, had to make a decision, had to make a decision. Would I stay here in Moab or should I leave and go back to Bethlehem with Naomi? Well, I made a radical decision. Absolutely. Because you see, I decided to go to Bethlehem with Naomi. Orpah, on the other hand, she decided to stay here in Moab and continue to worship the false gods, but not me. Naomi, though, she tried to discourage me and tell me not to come, to stay here. But I wasn't buying that. Oh no. See, I had already made up my mind. And so this is what I told Naomi. Where you go, I will go. Where you stay, I will stay. Your people will be my people, and your God will be my God. Well, after I told her that, she did no longer try to discourage me. And so we went together to Bethlehem. So, yes, I learned from the past that there are times in order to move forward, you have to separate yourselves from the old things that are holding you back. And then you have to unite with the new, fresh thing that God is trying to do in your life. And I know that you, as the Wesleyan Holiness Church, you know about that from your history. Oh, yes, because the church, the Wesleyan Holiness Church, came into being as a result of a separation that was followed by a union. All right, let me explain. You see, in 1843, there was a group of people who belonged to the Methodist Episcopal Church, and they decided to separate and to form a new entity called the Wesleyan Methodist Church because they wanted their church to represent an anti-slavery church. And then in 1968, the Wesleyan Methodist Church, that had separated from the Episcopal Church, then decided to unite with the Pilgrim Holiness Church. And that's where we get the Wesleyan Holiness Church. So, yes, so you understand about separation and about union. So first, Wesleyan, I need to make sure that you understand that this is a lesson from the past, your history that you must hold on to. So I have to ask you the question. I must ask the question, what things are you holding on to that's preventing you from moving forward? You see, sometimes there are traditions that hold us back. There are things that we are used to doing over and over again the same way, and we are just so comfortable doing those things, but they're holding us back. So if you're going to learn the lesson from your own history, then it requires that you must look back. Look at the things that you are doing. Look at the things that are holding you back. And then you know what to do. Do like what the church history founders did. Separate yourself from those things so that you can embrace the new thing that God is trying to do in your life and in the life of your church. And as you do that, you are going to move forward in victory into the new phase that God has destined for you as a church. When Naomi and I arrived in Bethlehem, we had little more than the clothes on our backs. We were two single women, widows, destitute, alone. And so Naomi, when she looked at her situation, the fact that she had lost her husband and both of her sons, she became bitter. As a matter of fact, she was so bitter that she blamed Yahweh, the God of Israel, for the situation that she was in. Well, you know, I also had a situation. I looked at my situation and I too had lost my husband. My darling Marlon was gone. And I had no sons. So I looked at my situation, but when I looked at my situation, I did not become bitter. Oh, no, no. I prayed. I prayed to the God of Israel that Naomi had told me about when we were in Moab. Yes, she told me about his mighty exploits, especially when Israel was in Egypt in slavery, and how Yahweh sent the 10 plagues over the land of Egypt, and especially the last plague, the death angel, and how the angel of death came, but because of the blood that was over the doorframe, death passed over their homes. And then Pharaoh told them to leave, to go. But as they were going through the Red Sea, and the Egyptians followed, and then how God killed their enemies and delivered them with a mighty hand and an outstretched arm. I remembered and I believe that that same God who delivered Israel so mightily so many years ago, that he could handle two single women. He could handle our situation. And so I prayed. And you know what happened? When I prayed, Yahweh opened my eyes to the opportunities that were staring me right in the face. And I'm sure you see it as well, don't you? You see the opportunity? Yes, when we arrived, it was harvest time. Yes, it was harvest time in Bethlehem. And so I told Naomi that I am going to go to the fields in order to glean. Yes, you know, gleaning, picking up the leftover grains that's left after the harvesters have already come and harvested the grain. That's what I would do. And that's what I did. But I have to ask you a question. First, Wesleyan, when you look at the situation that your church finds itself in on this, your 50th anniversary, what do you see? What do you see? Do you look and see the problem, the pandemic, and all that you have lost? Or do you see the problem solver? You see, it's a natural tendency to focus on the problem, but no. Mm-mm. You have to change your focus from the problem to the problem solver. Because you see, he can open your eyes when you pray and show you the opportunities that he has put in front of you. Listen, that is literally staring you in the face. But you need insight in order to see what it is that God is doing in the midst of your situation. So if you're going to redeem the present, that's what you must do. You must refocus your attention on the one who is the waymaker. I know, I hear you. I hear you sing that song, that he is the waymaker, that he is the miracle worker, the problem solver. I heard you declare that he is the light in the darkness. Then allow him to be your light in the darkness of this pandemic. And do not allow yourself to do what is natural. Focus on the problem. No, focus on the problem solver and allow him to show you the opportunity that he has presented in front of you for you to be able to grab a hold of and to be able to move forward. You see, that's what I did. I had to make the most of the opportunity that was presented to me. And the opportunity was to glean in the fields. So I made a move. I took a step in that direction. And do you know what Yahweh did? He ordered my steps so that I didn't just end up in any old field. No. You see, I came to the field that belonged to a man named Boaz. Now, did I know Boaz at that time? Absolutely not. Did I know where I was going? No, I didn't. But guess what? I made a move. I took the step. And then that allowed Yahweh to order my steps to the place that he had destined for me. So, First Wesleyan, if you are going to redeem the present, guess what? You have to take a step. You have to make a move. And then allow Yahweh to order your steps. Because you see, he's no respecter of persons. And what he did for me, he is more than able to do for you as well. So take that step, make that move, and see what Yahweh is going to do for you in helping you to redeem your present. When you learn from your past and you redeem your present, it puts you in position to be able to embrace your future. You see, that's what I'm doing now. This is my future. Let me explain what happened. You see, when I went in the field to glean, you remember I told you that I ended up on the field that belonged to a man named Boaz. Well, it wasn't until I went home and I told Naomi that she said, "Do you know Boaz is a kinsman redeemer and he is able to redeem you?" So We waited until the end of the barley harvest as well as the wheat harvest. And then Naomi told me what to do. She said to me, put on your best dress, put on a little bit of perfume, and then go down to the threshing floor. Be very careful that no one sees you there. So I did. I hid and I was careful. And then I saw where Boaz lay down, and I went and I uncovered his feet. You see, that was the way of asking him to be my covering, to be my kinsman redeemer, and to cover me. So, Boaz, you know what he said? He said he was willing, but he couldn't do it. What? What do you mean you can't be my kinsman redeemer? He explained that there was another kinsman who was a closer relative than he was, who had to have the first opportunity to redeem me. Well, I didn't want to hear that. Not at all. After all, I was in love with Boaz, and that's the one I wanted to marry. I wanted him to redeem me, not some other stranger. But you know what? I had to learn another lesson. I had to learn to wait and to trust in Yahweh, to trust in the one who I had placed my trust in. So I had no other option but to sit and wait while Boaz went down to the city gate. He found a nearer kinsman, and then he started to negotiate. The kinsman, the nearer kinsman, he was willing to redeem the property and buy the land. But when Boaz told him, well, you also have to marry Ruth, the Moabitess, that's me, moi. He said, oh, no, 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 I'm not going to do that. Well, let me tell you something. I have never been so happy and so excited to be rejected in my life. I was so happy that he said no, because that opened the way for Boaz to marry moi. And he did. That's it. Look at where I am. Not only am I married to Boaz, but he has brought me to live in his gorgeous home. We also have a place for Naomi as well, because remember, I said, where you stay, I will stay. So I brought her to where I am staying. And so Naomi is here. But you know what? I haven't told you the best news yet. Listen, we have a son. Yes, a son. Can you believe it? I have a son. We named him Obed, which means worshiper. Yes, because that's who I have become. I have become a worshiper of Yahweh. And so my son reminds me all the time of the future that my God has given me because I am his worshiper. And so Obed gave me a grandson. Mhm. His name is Jesse. And Jesse has a son by the name of David, the king of all Israel. Now, can you believe it? Can you believe it? Can you even imagine that I, Ruth, a Moabitess, a stranger originally, a foreigner, a non-Israelite, a Gentile, would give birth and be the progenitor of a king, the king of all Israel? But let me tell you, that's what Yahweh is able to do. He has given to me a future that I could not have even imagined, much better than anything I would have ever planned for myself. So, he has a glorious future for you as well. First Wesleyan Holiness Church. Oh, yes, he does. And what you need to do is to embrace the future that he has for you even before you see it. Yes, before you have it, because you know that he has only the best in store for you. But in order to embrace your future, you do know what you have to do. I know you know. Oh, yes. You have to make sure that you learn those lessons from the past. Remember, we talked about it, to make sure that you separate from those things that are holding you back and then unite with the new thing that Yahweh God has in store for you. That's right. And then redeem the present by making the most of the opportunities that Yahweh has placed in front of you. Yes. And when you do that, you will set yourself up for a glorious future that you will be able to embrace it with joy and with thanksgiving, because our God has only the best in store for us. So I just want to tell you, multiplied blessings rest upon you, First Wesleyan Holiness Church, as you celebrate your 50th church anniversary. And I know that because you have learned from the past, because you are redeeming the present, that you will be able to embrace the glorious future that Yahweh has in store for you. Shalom.